Końskie, from the Union of Nations to the European Union. A new chapter of Końskie started when, in 1870, Końskie Wielkie became the property of the Tarnowskis. They bought it for 250,000 rubles, and they were descendants of a magnificent baronial family whose history dates back to the ancient and medieval times. Vast areas of former woods have already been neatly sown. Blast furnaces have already been arranged according to the progressive metallurgy. New factories are said to be erected, and a newly built railroad, which has already been approved, will place them among the first-class iron plants, as they wrote in all Polish newspapers. At the end of the 19th century, the town experienced another economic growth. The launching of the railway line in 1885 definitely contributed to it. Important natural resources, an excess of labour force, as well as an access to the means of transport attracted Jewish capital. It was mainly invested in foundry, metal, timber, and/or ceramic industry. Eventually, the first capitalistic plants appeared, and the town diverted from craft and trade to industry. At the turn of the 19th century, the prosperity, likewise the accessible capital, extremely useful for the industrial growth, resulted in several new factories. However, most of them, especially blast furnace factories, did not manage to survive until the 20th century, and the remaining ones existed only in the first years of the century. The great fall of the local steelworks was the effect of maintaining inefficient methods of smelting based upon charcoal. Therefore, it was easier and cheaper to import pig iron, even from distant places, which gave the beginning to numerous foundries. This was only possible due to the railway line built in 1885. Investors were searching for places along the line from Kamienne to Blizin, Stompolków and Końskie. Due to that, fast industrial development took place in Końskie. As a result, plenty of independent foundries Stonemasonry and pottery were also developing. A year before, an entrepreneur named Baylor had founded stonemasonry and employed over 100 people. 4 years later, Abraham Levin opened a factory producing roof tiles, fire clay bricks and terracotta tiles. Consequently, Końskie became a significant iron trade centre full of new craftsmen's workshops that produced ironmongery. In most of them, Poles were employed. The increasing enterprise resulted in hundreds of small craftsmen's workshops, 500 merchants and lots of shops, 24 big ones and 100 small ones. A local power plant was also set up, but it was not until 1913 that it was designated for the use. Although Jews constituted an integral part of the society of the Końskie town, their separateness was conspicuous in every sphere, including the life of their community, viewpoints, upbringing, family, and last but not least, religion. Jews had their own cemetery, called kirkut, or Beit Kvarot, and also their own places of cult and religion, synagogue, or Beth Hakneseth. Nevertheless, the Jewish community actively participated in the life of Końskie and played a significant role in terms of economy and society. Along with Polish citizens, they decided about important town issues and took an active part in the municipal council meetings, evidence for which can be found in the archival records. Throughout centuries, the Jewish community, on par with Poles, participated in all Polish patriotic events. In the times of participations and during World War I, Austrians, Czechs, Moravians and Russians from Tsarist Russia lived in Końskie. Until 1918, when Poland regained independence, Końskie was under Austrian and Russian partition. Several hundred Russian soldiers and their families stayed in Końskie. In 1903, on the former Market Square, in the western part of the town, Bugaj, on Piotrowska Street, currently Marshal Józef Piłsudski Street, Ikona Matki Boże Znamienie Orthodox Church was built for them and their families. All in all, around 3,000 inhabitants. Both contemporary mayor and police commander were Russians. The Tarnowskis and other significant inhabitants of Końskie were under the surveillance of the officers. The Russian language was obligatory, and for fear of plotting against the authorities, Russian supervisors were present in plenty of events, meetings and assemblies. Despite that, the citizens of Końskie were incredibly active. New schools and a cinema were opened, theatrical plays were performed, and new associations and societies were set up. The traditions of high school came back to life. Students learned Russian, German, Latin, Polish, French, Old Church Slavonic. They studied Russian history and about the ancient times. They learned to draw and calligraphy, arithmetics, algebra, geometry and natural science too. In addition to this, students could keep fit or practice singing. Moreover, they studied Catholic or Orthodox religion. Also, both girl and boy scouting were founded, and the assemblies took place in Count Tarnowski's park. At the same time, due to the Tarnowskis' initiative, the Voluntary Fire Brigade Society was set up, and St. Nicholas's Church was rebuilt and adjusted to the needs of the local parish. Before the Austrians entered the town again and introduced their own administration in 1915, Russians, when leaving the town, had taken plenty of skilled workers and valuable equipment away. The abandoned Orthodox Church, without the faithful, robbed by the Austrians, was eventually bought by private owners who used the remains of the demolished church to build 2 new houses in Końskie. Only the tombs of the deceased Russians remained here. The new invader appeared to be more liberal for Polish culture and language, yet in a ruthless way economically exploited the vicinity of the town and the town itself. In spite of the fact that Poles were given limited power by the Austrians, the absolute ruler of the Końskie district was a commanding officer to whom the magistrate was subordinated. The first Polish mayor of Końskie was Władysław Królikiewicz, was elected by councillors in June 1916. During World War I, Końskie was inhabited by people from different parts of Austria-Hungary. The following postcard, written by one of them, allegedly Moravian, and sent to his family, shows a bird's-eye view of contemporary Końskie with the following text. Please accept my sincere greetings and the promised postcard. We are among Poles and they are all Jews. As far as the food is concerned, we cannot complain, as bread is better than at home, sold by weight. 1 pound costs 12 farthings, and 2 kilos cost 5 pounds. Józef Jadek, a workman, gives us a lift. We would have everything if we had beer and tobacco. They have beer somewhere, but it's only some coloured water. Bzin Tomaszów Nikwan Station near Kielce, written on the 11th of September 1915. In the first years of independence, Poland had to struggle with the effects of war and also with the consequences of over half a century of partitions. Końskie suffered from a critical situation for a long time after having become independent. Local factories did not work due to broken pre-war market and a lack of resources background. The constant unemployment was increasing and finally resulted in emigration in search of work. The economic and industrial panorama of Ziemia Koniecka in 1925 includes 120 enterprises, companies, plants of different size from grain mills through ironworks, foundries, sawmills and brickyards to big factories. There is also a minor factory producing soap and shoe polish, labour, a distillery of vodka and 4 small tanneries. Końskie revived in 1922 when, located in the northern part, The interwar period brought about a breakdown in mining and foundry. The dismissal of over 1,300 workers in January 1930 shows that, on the one hand, there was a serious outlet and consequently production recess. On the other hand, people's poverty increased as they were deprived of a means of support. This built on an atmosphere of dissatisfaction and rebellion. Also, strikes broke out. The most well-known was the one that occurred in the summer of 1936. It was the longest massive strike that took place in Zagłębie Staropolskie. After a 6-week period of total occupation of the factory, over a 700-person crew was guaranteed the fulfillment of their demand, mainly a rise. The Końskie and the Tarnowskis was a town of administration, service and industry type. Most workers were employed in small plants or in craftsmen's workshops. Lower middle class, mainly Jewish, was crucial in the life of the town. Also, the intelligentsia and white-collar workers played quite an important role. A lot of people were still employed in trade and craft. In 1928, due to high competition, shops were not profitable enough. Among them, 236 sold food, 100 sold cloth goods, 31 iron goods, 30 dyeing goods, and 128 others. It seems that a lot of tourists came to Końskie because there were 20 restaurants and confectionaries. It was easy enough to get to Końskie. Apart from the railway, there was a well-developed road network. At the end of the 1930s, the economic situation got better. Centralny Okręg Przemysłowy, Central Industry District, investment resulted in an improvement in the economic situation in Poland. However, it did not manage to reach Końskie, though it helped factories located in Końskie to a certain extent. The turnover was higher and the metal department employed 2,000 people. In 1939, the population of Końskie was 11,500 people. Most of them were of Jewish origin. The next 6 years appeared to constitute the most tragic period in the history of Końskie. The German invasion with no declaration of war started on the 1st of September. A massive attack of mechanized troops, armored units and air forces was in accordance with the assumptions of Blitzkrieg. On the third and fourth day of the war, Luftwaffe bombed Końskie. The civilians were the first victims, among them the Weinbergers, suffered the greatest loss. On the 8th of September, Germans were knocking on the doors of the people of Końskie. The next day, Adolf Hitler triumphantly entered the brave town, while visiting the headquarters of the 10th Army commanded by General Walter von Reichenau. From the very beginning, Wehrmacht soldiers inspired terror among civilians, and Końskie experienced several murders and massacres. The first one occurred on the 12th of September during the funeral of German soldiers in the square in front of St. Nicholas's Church, when 22 Jews were shot. A famous German actress and director of films about the triumphalism of the German Reich, Leni Riefenstahl, witnessed the massacre. The pictures taken in 1939 showing the terror on her face are still well known and depicted all over the world in different languages. In northern part of the town, in Budowa, on the terrain of convent or assembly, and scrap processing facility, on the field where a factory was supposed to be raised, a camp was founded. Along with the prisoners of war, civilians of Polish and Jewish origin were placed there, which resulted in 5,000 people being caught between the 12th and 14th of September, 20 of whom were executed. On the 11th of November 1939, some German soldiers sent a postcard to Germany in which he was reporting to his civil superior. Dear Sir, as an officer in the Municipal Savings Bank, being under your surveillance, I dare to send my greetings from Poland. Końskie has a population of 12,000 people, 8,000 of which is Jewish trash. The Jew has to work with a pickaxe and shovel here, and yet their faces. Once again, I send my greetings and seek heil to our leader. Germans began serving meagre food rations and went on to an economical as well as a social destruction of the Polish and Jewish society living in Końskie. The invader took over bigger factories in the town in order to control war production. Similarly, the property of the Tarnowskis went under the surveillance of the Germans. The war activity as well as confiscation and contingents organized by the Wehrmacht and the gendarmerie resulted in conditions of existence dramatically worsened. In November 1939, the Germans went on to serve food. Monthly, each inhabitant of the town had to make do with 6 kilos of bread, 400 grams of meat, 3 eggs, 100 grams of grain coffee, 25 grams of sugar, 120 grams of artificial honey, 250 grams of marmalade, 0.3 litres of a semi-skimmed milk, In an account of American Joint Distribution Committee we can read, "There is no one in this town who would not be familiar with the sad pictures that can be seen between 12 and 2 p.m. near our kitchen. When it's freezing outside, we can see those who are waiting for food shod in clogs on their bare feet, or those whose feet are wrapped only with rags. It's an open secret that there are children staying in beds because they have nothing to wear." During World War II, Końskie was inhabited by Lithuanians, Ukrainians, and also Russians from the Soviet Union, Georgians, and the representatives of other nationalities. During the occupation, the local foundries were administered by Germans. Factory crews made the foundation of the local resistance movement in terms of personnel, as well as gathering and repairing weapons, production of some of the armaments, monitoring or collecting information about the invader. When the September battles ended, a unit set up by Henryk Dobrzański, alias Hubal, started an armed struggle. This brave major gained the name of the last soldier of Rzeczpospolita and the first Polish guerrilla. Henryk Dobrzański, a member of the Virtuti Military Cross, former legionary and master of cavalry during the September struggles, served as a commander deputy of Ulan Regiment. When he learned that Poland had been invaded by the Soviet Union as a consequence of a fascist-communist non-aggression pact between Ribbentrop and Molotov, Dobrzański said he would not take off his uniform as long as he stayed alive, as long as the enemy was driven away. The citizens of Końskie enthusiastically welcomed first the army and then the guerrilla troops. Irrespective of the threats of losing their lives, they provided the troops with food, fodder for horses and other useful things. On the 30th of April 1940, Major Dobrzański was killed in a battle. His corpse was taken away by the Germans and his grave has never been found. The Nazi regime did not break down the people of Końskie. The period between 1939 and 45 went down in history as a heroic struggle against the enemy. Within the organization of Polish Underground, irrespective of political beliefs, the citizens of Końskie united to defend their homeland. They created the Peasants' Battalions, groups of communists and socialists, People's Army, National Armed Forces, Polish Home Army, and sabotaged against invaders. A lot of soldiers won a reputation for themselves as being very brave. For instance, Lieutenant Marek Szymanski, alias Semp, the mayor's son, Captain Jan Stroński, alias Górski, Lieutenant Jan Piwnik, alias Ponury, who was commander of Zgrupowanie Świętokrzyskie concentration, Lieutenant Waldemar Żwiec, alias Robot, Colonel Antony Heda, alias Szare, Bogumił Kasperski, alias Malina, Jan Wroniszewski, alias Znic, Bogomir Dworzianski, alias Ostoja, Tadeusz Chmielowski, alias Bartek, Stanisław Janyszewski, alias Dewaitis, Władysław Piwowarczyk, alias Zbigniew, and many more whose names have been engraved on the memorials and about whom the grateful inhabitants of Końskie will never forget. One of the most dramatic events that took place in Końskie during World War II was in November 1942. It happened when the Germans were making way with a Jewish district. They murdered people on their way to the railway station and on the way to extermination camps. Out of the 5,300 Jews from Końskie, together with Jews who were brought to the ghetto, were killed in Końskie. Jews were chased away from their houses, lined up and driven. Those who were ill and unable to move were thrown out through windows by the gendarmerie. They came up to the lying ones to shoot them. Some Jewish woman was trying to escape with a baby who had just been born. The baby was naked, she herself unkempt, half naked with one foot in a big shoe and the other one bare. The guns eventually reached her. On the other side of the street, Germans were dragging Jews who were putting up resistance. The town was once again terrorized during 2 mass arrests in 1943. That day, all Jews were dragged by Lithuanian shooters collaborating with Nazis and Ukrainians who were showing off their cruelty. The Ukrainians raped Jewish women before death could cease their torments. They were made to march straight and evenly. There were thousands of them. They were not allowed to cross the marked line because German or Ukrainian guns immediately evened them out by killing. Convicts who had been deprived of shoes and clothes were driven to Szydłowiec station, 4 kilometers on foot, barefoot in the temperature of 16 degrees below zero. They were beaten and killed. There was a huge number of dead children, elderly women, and so much blood that for a long time people couldn't muster their courage to walk that way. The local building complex was destroyed too. Some of them were destroyed in the beginning of September 1939. In 1942, the invader was seeking new urban solutions. Anotarg and the merchant shops called Pociowo were pulled down. Also the buildings along contemporary Jatkowa Street towards the hospital were destroyed in order to extend Warszawska Street straight away. All this was to facilitate the German transportation. Around 200 Jews from Końskie survived the war. They either were in hiding with Poles or had forged documents. They are not in Końskie anymore. Some of them have died, some live in Israel or in the United States of America. The history of the Jews has been closely connected with the history of the society and the town itself since the Middle Ages. Undeniably, Jews should be given credit for the development of trade, craftsmanship, as well as the traditional foundry and metal industry. Throughout all these years, Jews who lived in Końskie possessed very favourable conditions of living. They had their own different material and spiritual culture, which still constitutes the culture of the town. The extermination of the Jews irrevocably ended a long period when both Polish and Jewish communities cohabited, irrespective of the dissimilarities. Only scant material and archival traces of memories remained. At the end of the war, Końskie had been destroyed like never before. Some buildings, for example the church tower, suffered some additional destruction in January 1945 during the struggle between the Red Army soldiers and the Nazis. Plenty of Poles died in execution, pacification, or in concentration camps. Due to patriotism and the love of their homeland, Poles were murdered, imprisoned, tortured, or forced to work in Germany. Soldiers who came from Końskie fought and died on all fronts, for example in the Battle of Narvik, Monte Cassino, in Africa, in the Warsaw Uprising, or in squadrons of Great Britain or France. Most of them laid down their lives to defend their fatherland, and they rest in eternal peace in the cemetery in Końskie or in hostile places like Katyn. People lavish affection on those who survive, and they are hallowed as they are a testimony to the bygone times and make paragons for future generations. Sunday the 17th of January 1945. The town has been liberated by the Soviet army. After the Mass in church, organists sang Boże Cios Polskę, but the faithful were singing very faint-heartedly. Singing isn't loud at all, even though we are free. On Tuesday the 19th of January, people knew that NKVD had started arresting soldiers of Polish Home Army. They especially hunt for parachutists from London. In fear of a reprisal, a great number of inhabitants of Końskie left their homeland. The Tarnowskis, who stewarded Końskie for years, distinguished themselves in the history of the town. They were brave patriots, excellent organizers of social life, creators of dozens of social and economic undertakings. Also, they were well educated as they gained their education in Poland and abroad, possessed plenty of scholarly achievements. The Tarnowskis never regained their property that was seized by new post-war authorities, although they developed the property of Końskie in a way that is still evident and serves the local community. According to a census in 1950, Końskie was inhabited by 7,000 people. At that time, the new so-called People's Power issued a decree of agricultural reform and parcelled out land properties, among which 900 hectares were the Tarnowski's possessions, whereas as a result of a decree of nationalisation, private plants, for example foundries, were being taken over, now and then violating their binding regulations. Końskie was put under state control, while owners of minor enterprises were deprived of their ownership. In addition to this, a board was appointed and the rest were diverted into Labour's cooperative. In the first place, the people of Końskie rendered the foundries operational. Also, the type of production changed and now pipes and sewerage fittings were produced. Therefore, plants needed modernisation. 2,000 people worked in the industrial section in 1955. One of the biggest factories that started its production was Zakład Urządzeń Klimatycznych, air conditioning fitting plant, later known as Convent, which was extended in the 1970s and 1980s. Also in the 1970s, the Italians had their influence on the development of Końskie. It was not until 1968 that hackneys made room for taxicabs. Taxi number 1, whose owner has been serving people for 50 years, has played an important role in public transport. The industry has changed a lot since the time when the new metallurgy plant Zamtal was erected. For a long time, the plant was a branch of the truck factory Polmo in Starkowice. Throughout years, it was the largest plant that employed, at its best time, 3,500 people. However, it was liquidated in 1996. Okręgowa Spółdzielnia Mlekarska, local dairy cooperative, producing powdered milk, butter, dairy, yogurts, has been in the market for 25 years. In addition, an extended infrastructure has changed the town, making it favourable for prospective investors. Nowadays, there are no blast furnace works, but the historical traces are presented to groups of tourists who are shown old machinery which used to smelt and process iron. However, there are still metallurgy plants which are well adjusted to the new economic reality in Poland after 1989. Old traditions are still continued though. At present, the town is the centre of the district's administration and fifth as to the size industry in Świętokrzyście province. Foundries and the metal industry prevail in Końskie. In the past few years, on the basis of bankrupt plants, new foundries, ceramic and clothing industry have appeared. The town is provided with a complete municipal infrastructure as well as well-developed services. There are gas, water supply and sewage systems, sewage treatment plant and heat generating plant. In addition to this, Końskie is the seat of numerous state institutions, private enterprises, financial, educational, health and cultural organizations. The achievements were appreciated by former President Alexander Kwaśniewski, who came to Końskie to celebrate the 250th anniversary of incorporation on the 8th of May 1998, and except for King Stanisław Augustus, is the only head of state to have met the local community. Końskie is the seat of the district located in the northwest of Świętokrzyście province. The district borders on Mazowieckie and Łódzkie provinces. The population of Końskie is 23,000 people. It's also the centre of a 40,000 commune. It's very easy to get to Końskie due to the fact it's situated 10 kilometers off the National Road 74 from Piotrków Trybunalski to Kraśnik, and at the intersection of roads 749, 746 and 728. In addition to this, its proximity to important cities such as Łódź, Warsaw, Radom, Kielce made the town a well-developed industrial centre. Traditional production, which is constantly handed down from generation to generation, bind people with the metal industry. Well-educated engineers and technicians have been cultivating the accomplishments of their ancestors, enriching the region, the town and the people. The future of Końskie is another step towards technological changes. Plasma technologies are becoming widely used to regain rare metals and destroy electric arc waste. Końskie makes use of the rich experience, good urban solutions financed by European funds, and the enterprising inhabitants are planning to create economic subzone and small business zone. Also, they're going to promote the techniques of eradicating the asbestos in communes, and perhaps soon the project of plasma reactor will be completed. The future of Końskie also lies in education, indispensable in fulfilling the needs of the local labour market. Annually, the interesting landscape and environmental values of Końskie and its vicinity attract thousands of tourists, especially from big Polish cities. The accommodation facilities include hotels in Końskie, Modliszewice and a year-long resort in Sielpie. There are two cinemas, Pegas, 1 Maja Street, and Antyczne in Greek Temple. Several other cultural institutions as well as municipal and create activity, theatrical plays, film production, or meet and celebrate significant anniversaries. After the years of various historical events full of both happiness and sadness, the history still lives in the local celebrations, cultural or religious events, national anniversaries. People meet those who witnessed the cruelty and changes that have taken place in the town of Końskie. All this teaches the young generation patriotism. Also, Polskie Towarzystwo Turystyczno-Krajoznawcze, Polish Touristic and Sightseeing Society, which is in charge of Izba Pamięci I Tradycje Ziemi Konieckiej, Chamber of Remembrance and Tradition in the land of Końskie, has contributed to that. In addition, the St. Nicholas's and Wojciech Collegiate churches are very important in terms of religious life. The people of Końskie take care of the church, cultivating its accomplishment and traditions. The inhabitants of the town seem to be very proud of their history. Therefore, they piously take part in religious events exactly like their ancestors did in the past. Nowadays, Końskie is beautiful in every season of the year. It's worth walking among its historical buildings, resting on a bench in the heart of the town, or in the chill of the local park, and think of the past events and heroes of the land. When visiting the cemetery in Brovary, it's worth remembering that in the old necropolis beside our ancestors, people from all over the world rest there. You need to stop for a while and reflect on the heroes of old and modern times. People also remember there is the tomb of Yom Kippur's beloved mother. People here are very hospitable and frugal, enriched with centuries-old wisdom. They are willing to accept tourists and also businessmen into their homes. They are responsible for handing over the technical and cultural knowledge of all communities that lived in Końskie in the past. Experience stemming from a mixture of different cultures is still alive nowadays, which is proved by the continuation of industrial, merchant and craft traditions, as well as a fondness of remembrance and cultivation of the town's history. Everyone who arrives in Końskie has to hold the living chronicle in high esteem. Końskie remembers meritorious heroes, have memorials erected, and the elderly people hand over the wisdom of the past, both in writing and in speaking.